Hi everybody, this is Mighty Elf from SonFatherGaming1. I'm going to put a video series together. This is video number 1 in that series, and it's going to be all about kind of my beginnings, my careers, how we got here, and why we're here. Um, the second video is probably going to cover a little bit more about setup, what I've got surrounding me right now, and how much I spent uh, and things like that. Hopefully, my wife doesn't watch that video at all. Um, and then the third, I think, in the series, probably going to be the final series. It's going to talk about Evans II and Seed Egg 2, and probably Gray Bush as well. But this video, we're just going to talk about me, my careers, where I came from, and why. Why am I even on Twitch, and why do we have this YouTube channel, and what are we trying to do with it? So I was born in Long Beach, California. Yeah, no, let's not go back that damn far. That's a long way back. Let's go back to somewhere around 1990, no, 89, 1989. And I joined the Navy, went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. That was fun. I should probably mention that before I joined the Navy, I was actually in the Air Force. Um, did the Air Force thing for a very short period of time, and then went over to the Navy. Um, I won't even get into why I did all that, but we'll just say that that's what I did. So I went into the Navy. I was studying electronics and what can I say? How can I say it without giving things away? I went into electronics and um, target tracking radar systems. So there's nothing secret about that. We all know that the military has target tracking radar systems. So then I was assigned to this ship right here, over here. It's the USS William V. Pratt, guided missile destroyer. You can see on the back over here, there, that's where the helipad was, and above that was where the missiles were, and then the radars that I was training to work on are right above that. When you're in the Navy, you got to pay your dues, so started from the bottom. I ended up getting assigned to deck division on this ship, 500 and some feet long. And I swept every foot of that deck an enormous amount of times. So I was assigned to deck in there. I was assigned to the mess decks, which is chow hall, basically where you eat. And I actually enjoyed that. It was super easy. um, did that. We went into Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and what that ship was, we were a ship that was meant to protect the carrier. We were with the Carrier America battle group. That carrier has actually been decommissioned, and the Carrier America that exists today is way smaller than the Carrier America that was out in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. While on that ship, I worked with, like I said, deck, mess decks, communications, radio, and that was back when the equipment was quite antiquated by today's standards. But while on that ship, I got to shoot an M14 in a shooting competition that we had because we had to come up with something to do. I guess, we're in the middle of a war, but we got into an area that was kind of calm waters, and we decided, the captain decided we were going to have a picnic basically on the back of that ship where the helicopter landing pad is. It's called the fantail. We had a shooting competition back there, barbecue and a shooting competition. And I actually won that shooting competition. And I was competing against anybody that wanted to compete on the ship, but I actually did compete against gunner's mates that were the ones that maintained the firearms and were supposed to be the best of the best on that ship. And I actually won the competition. That comes into play a little bit later in the video, but I just wanted to mention that here. So I, after Desert Shield, Desert Storm, that ship decommissioned. I was on the decommissioning crew for that ship. Somewhere around here, I have a piece of that ship. I don't have it within arm's reach, but I got a piece of the ship for the decommissioning, be on the decommissioning crew, and then I was sent to a school in San Diego. Went to school in San Diego for the communications, the electronic communications. Radioman was the rate at the time. Now I believe it's called IT, but back then it was called Radioman. And I got into that school just about the time that they were switching from teletypes and all kinds of antiquated transmission equipment to computers. So we were, after I went to that school, we were tearing down the old equipment and putting up the computer equipment and setting up the networks and running fiber and like all this stuff that was unheard of. Oh, by the way, there was no internet back then. Not that you know of today. We were doing electronic communications, and the internet back then was 300 baud. It was so slow you could actually watch the things type across the screen. It was that slow. So we've come a long way from today, but I did that at HM-15. So HM-15, Helicopter Mine Countermeasure Squadron 15. And this is even pre-Evans II. Just barely, but pre-Evans II. I was stationed at Helicopter Mine Countermeasures 15. The reason I got stationed there was because that was in Alameda, California, and my parents happened to live in Northern California at the time. So I actually graduated top in the class for the radioman class, the school, finished school at the top of the class, got to pick my orders, and I walked up and I was like, Alameda, cool. I can drive home for the weekend. So Helicopter Mine Countermeasure 15 at that time was in Alameda, California. They are now in Texas. I believe they're still in Corpus Christi, Texas, although they may have moved from there. I don't know. But what I handled in there was communications, and that was command communications, so messages from the fleet to our particular group, helicopter group, and then also the HF communications between the ships and the helicopters when they were out there. What Helicopter Mine Countermeasure Squadron 15 does, it was HM, Helicopter Mine Countermeasures. They did mine sweeping operations. So they swept for mines and detected mines and blew up mines with these sleds. The sleds looked like this. So the sled is obviously over here. Obviously not the yellow tractor thing, but it's this thing right here. And those foils that are pointing up, the orange things that are pointing up, they actually went down into the water, and it was hydrofoil, so it would lift it up out of the water while they were being towed by the helicopters. So pretty cool stuff. Here's a picture of that. So it's a MH-53 Echo. It's a Sikorsky helicopter, huge, massive, like it's 80 feet from end to end on the rotors, massive. Things were huge. And then back over here is, well, I wish I could get there it is. So right there, you can see the hydrofoils are down and it's lifted up out of the water, and then they would drag different things behind it that would send different signals out to mines and it would mimic being a different type of ship or different size ship to pop those mines. So cool stuff. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And that towards the end of that was when Evans II was born, and I was stationed in Alameda then. And then I decided that I wanted to get out of the Navy because the pay wasn't great. And what I was doing in the Navy, I could do outside of the Navy for a whole lot more money. So it was all computers and networking and all that stuff. And that was kind of the new frontier back then. Yes, I'm old, obviously. So I got out, kind of fun. I did some security because that was the easiest work to get when you got out of the military. You go to a security company and say, "Hey, I can do security." And they're like, "Yes, you can." Boom, you got a job. So at least I got into a job so I could get some income coming in. And then I found a startup ISP or internet service provider that was setting up a network and a rack of modems because we used to connect to the internet through modems. Yep, that's what they sounded like. So setting up racks of modems and the network there to get people onto the internet with their computers. Back then, 386 and 486 computers, I think shortly after I got there, like the Pentium stuff came out. Um, so we did that. We connected people to the internet. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed working there, but I just wanted something a little bit more than helping people connect to the internet, and I wanted more money. So started looking for jobs. Went to a company called RHI, and they had some openings at a grocery store chain. So I worked at this grocery store chain, their corporate headquarters in California, and I did the networking and IT and anything that had to do with LAN technicians, anything that had to do with local area networking, PCs, and anything that connected to PCs. Maintain that stuff. We recabled the whole network there. I worked with a great group of guys that really cared about what they did, knew what they were doing, and all of us were eager to learn at any turn, anything new having to do with technology. So worked there for 8 years. During that 8-year time frame, at that office right there, I was there was an office there, an office across the street, and they had several stores in California. We were working with Microsoft, and Microsoft had people that were consulting that came in and helped you with issues that you might have been having with Microsoft software or any of the hardware interfaces to Microsoft. So the consultant came in and we were hanging out with him, and he started talking about Xbox. Well, this is pre-release. This is before Xbox was even released. And he told us, "Yeah, I got an Xbox." And I'm like, "What do you mean you got an Xbox?" He goes, "Yeah, I got an Xbox and I've got all the games that have been created for it." And I was like, "Well, I want one." And he goes, "Okay, cool. I'll get you one." And before it was released, probably 2 months before it was actually released to the public, an Xbox, original Xbox, showed up at my house with all of the games that had been invented for it at that time, which was about 11 games. And Evans II and I would play those games, and it was just amazing to have something like this before it was released. The kids at school didn't believe he had one. It was a really nice opportunity to get a gaming system, and that's kind of where the gaming stuff started. We really enjoyed playing the games. Most of them you could see here, you could connect 4 controllers, but most of the games didn't work really well with 4 people playing on the same TV because that's how we had to do it back then. So we would do 2-player or take turns and just have fun playing it. We were playing it on this TV. Well, not this actual TV. This particular TV, I just got this picture off the internet, but that was the same TV and the same little console that came with it. And it was the shit back then. It was the top of the line. Like that was the biggest TV you could get. It was a 32 inch or 32 or 34, I think 32 inch Sony, and top of the line. Crazy. Very expensive. Now, as you can imagine, it's worth zero. Anyway, we played on this TV. Um, right around this time, we ended up moving into a different house, and I met Seed Egg 2's mother, and Seed Egg 2 and his mom moved in, and we ended up getting another Xbox, and we had two. So I decided, well, this would be cool if I could connect these two together. So I ended up connecting these two together. I built a cable, not this actual cable. This cable right here is actually not the cable that I built. It's just a picture I grabbed from the internet. But and you could connect the two Xboxes together and play against each other, and that was like groundbreaking back then. I think at that point we had finally upgraded to a 52-inch LCD flat screen. Well, it was sort of flat in the other room. And let me tell you, that thing was very expensive as well. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Ridiculously expensive. Um, then the internet was kind of like a real thing by then. So I wanted to connect to the internet, but we lived in an area where we didn't have internet connection. There was no cable. There was barely TV. We just couldn't get internet out there. And the company that I was working for a software company at that time that did emergency dispatch software and billing software, mostly for ambulances. And we, where was I? Oh, so we got it on a cellular network. I found a cellular network that was close to that area, and we were able to get on the cellular network. We played on the cellular network with those two computers connected, or two Xboxes connected together. And the wait time, though, to get a game, this was on Call of Duty 2. So way early Call of Duty. The wait to get a game would often be 20, 30 minutes. And a lot of times we would get disconnected from the game. And that usually ended up in a whole bunch of our controllers looking like this right here. They ended up getting thrown and broken. CDEG 2 probably threw a whole lot more controllers than anybody else. But yeah, we ended up with a bunch of broken controllers. So I worked for that software company for quite some time, a lot of years, and traveled the country to different customers, helping them get set up. Some of our customers didn't even have networks at their offices, but they were trying to install our software and control their ambulances through our software without even having a network. They had like one computer. So I would go out there and say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to get. They would, and then I would leave. They would get the stuff, and then I would come back and I would help them get it together and get it installed. So did that for a lot of years. Got kind of burnt out on that whole thing. And I was kind of floating for a while. Wasn't sure what I really wanted to do or where I wanted to go, but I was just burnt out on that. And I had the opportunity to get a job working for the state doing IT, and I just thought to myself, I just don't want to do this. I want to do something else. So I still had income from that company because I had so much vacation. They had no cap on their vacation, and I had so much built up, they couldn't afford to pay me out. So they just paid me every month like I was working there, but I wasn't working there. So I was doing stuff like I would go out and disc golfing. I would drive people around, Uber. I would Uber and Lyft, go up to the college town that's near where I live, and just make a bunch of money doing Uber for people. And then I saw an ad on Facebook for a gun store that was hiring, and I was like, oh, well, I would really like to work at that gun store. So I applied. I got called in for an interview, and I interviewed, and they liked me, but my age was an issue. They, of course, didn't tell me that then. I found that out later. They didn't. They knew that I was going to be the best fit for the job out of all the candidates they had, but they just weren't sure with my age, because I was older than the people that were interviewing me, how it was going to go down, and if I was going to kind of ruin the vibe or whatever at the store. It was a gun store and an indoor shooting range. So anyway, I started working there. Worked there for about a year, maybe a little more than a year. And I was having a good time. I enjoyed it. I got to shoot a lot. I bought a couple of guns, different guns, and I enjoyed it. The owner, around that time, took me aside and said, hey, I just kind of don't want to do this anymore. And I think you would probably be a good fit to own this store if you could come up with the money, but I doubt you can. And mind you, I was making like minimum wage cleaning toilets at this gun store. I mean, I was doing paperwork and stuff too, but I was like low man on the totem pole. And I said, okay, well, I could probably figure something out. It took about 8 to 10 months, and I ended up buying the gun store and renovating the gun store and shooting range. And it was fantastic. It is fantastic. I still own the gun store. Evan's second also works there, and we have a good time. There's always something to repair. There's always something that's not going right. There's always something new to learn. I did forget to talk about my restaurant that I had, but another video. Don't even worry about it. So we've been doing this now for quite a few years. During the first 2 years, though, I worked in there, and I was working 7 days a week for about 2 years straight, and doing nothing but working. And it was interesting and exciting, but I wasn't doing anything that was fun, and I wasn't really spending time with the boys outside of work. I was, just working, and then we'd all go home, and then we go back to work again. And there was just so much fun that I wanted to have that I couldn't have because I was working so much. So I decided, you know what? I got to change a few things. We're going to have to do something different because I've got to get some fun back. There has to be something. So we were doing a renovation on the range, and there was a period of time where there was nothing I could do. We had contractors that were working on the renovations, but I had to be there because I couldn't just let the contractors have free reign in a gun store without them having the proper credentials. So I had to make sure that everything stayed where it was supposed to be, and nobody went into areas they're not supposed to go in because there's all kinds of restrictive laws. So I had to be there. So I decided that I was like, you know what? I want to start playing Call of Duty again. I haven't played Call of Duty in years. So I decided, well, rather than jumping right back in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, or I'm going to watch people play and kind of learn some of the newer stuff and the newer techniques and newer tactics and newer games and see what they look like and how they play. So I started watching some of the old YouTubers that I used to watch and some of their gameplay. Some of them had stopped doing it, so couldn't find their gameplay. So I found some new things. Twitch was new to me at that point. So I found Twitch and I started watching gameplay videos and live streams. And I said, this is totally cool. This would be something that would be really fun to do, and I really want to get back to playing this game. So I talked to Evans II, and I said, "Hey, let's start playing again. Like, all we do is work, and we've got to have something to get away from work. We got to have some fun at some point, right? So let's play together. We'll get you whatever you need. We'll get me whatever I need, and then we'll actually start playing together." And we said, "Yeah, that's great. We got the equipment." And I was watching Twitch, and I happened to find Father-Son Gaming. So Father-Son Gaming is one of my favorite streams to watch. I still watch them all the time. But this is them right here. 264,000 followers. Obviously, we don't have that many followers. But at some point, we would love to. But I'm sure you can see what I did there. So it was Father-Son Gaming, and it is Jason and Bill. Jason is the son. Bill is the father. He's retired. Someday I hope I can retire. And they play video games together. And they've been doing it for a lot of years. And anyway, I enjoyed their content. I enjoyed their streams. I loved watching them. And you should definitely check those guys out. They're fantastic. And I said, you know what? Let's do something like that. So I created I talked to Evans II and said, "Hey, let's do this." And he said, "Okay, let's do it." So I created all the socials, and then I went to Twitch to create our Twitch account, and it ended up being sonfathergaming1. But all the other socials are sonfathergaming. See, I should have created the Twitch account first. The reason we couldn't have sonfathergaming was because sonfathergaming was already taken, and I could not get in contact with whoever had it or whoever has it, and they're not doing anything with it, and I really would have liked to have gotten that. But I said, you know what? I'll just throw a 1 on the back of it, and we'll be sonfathergaming1. So Father-Son Gaming was my inspiration because I loved how they interacted together. They had a good time together, and I was looking forward to having a good time playing games again, and I wanted to play with my sons. So I guess when imitation is the ultimate in flattery, I guess. I'm sure you can see what we did there. They are Father-Son Gaming. We are sonfathergaming1. We have a good time. We have a one-of-a-kind stream. Our stream is 3 streamers, and I should have prepared a picture of that. 3 streamers. It's myself, Evans II, CDAG2, and then all three of our cameras and all 3 of our gameplays on the same screen. Technical issues abound with that kind of the whole kind of horsepower needed to produce something like that. But we are getting through them. We have a great time. I'm hoping that we can end up getting a whole lot more followers because I think everybody, we're learning a lot, and I think everybody would enjoy our stream as much as I enjoyed the Father-Son Gaming stream, which is what motivated me to do this. The next video is going to be a video that talks about setup, my setup, and what it cost me. Mind you, when I was doing my setup, it was COVID time. So the cost that I put into it is way more than it would be today if you were to try to go out and get some of this hardware and some of this equipment. I'm also going to talk in that video, the next video, about why I got what I got and why you don't have to get what I got and what I learned about spending money on equipment and where you can save money on different equipment. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and girls. Thank you very much for watching. And I'd appreciate it if you're not already following on Twitch, twitch.tv/sonfathergaming1. Have a fantastic day. Thanks.